18th, starting right before I'm on Chess TV, cutting it as close as possible, etc., mainly etc. Yeah. Yeah, I went home and took a nap and exhausted and so forth. Ooh, Perry. So I did commentary the last 3 hours with Naroditsky. And also of importance is Rick and Morty's on tonight, new episode. So don't forget that. Some things are more important than others. All right, let's see. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, at one point we had about 13,000 people watching. That was good. Yeah, and even though Ifan left, she was still with us in spirit because her picture's behind us. So forth. Stonkfish subscribed. Hooray! Go, everybody. Go, etc. Mainly, etc. Yay, cheer 200. Almost worked. Almost. There we go. Cheer 200. Hooray, curious chimpanzee. One more and we have a train. Another train. The next 4 days, something like that, is Danny Wrench. So tomorrow is going to be Danny Wrench and Ifan to start, and then me and Danny Wrench to finish. Then the next 2 or 3 days is going to be me and Danny Wrench. And I think the 21st, which is Wednesday, is a free day. There's no chess. Yeah. Then Naroditsky's taking this week off because he has a camp to teach. So the replacement... What? That's not what I wanted. I just wanted to do that. I mean, I was hoping it didn't get rid of all the games. That would have been the most fun I ever had. Clicking the wrong thing. All right. Yeah. We're the best except for one thing. Who's better at chess, Ben, Ifan, or Danny? Ifan's first, then Danny. If you mean Danny, Daniel Naroditsky. If you mean Danny Wrench, then it's not Danny Wrench. Yeah, if it's Danny Wrench, it makes it easier. Then it's Ifan, me, and then Wrench. If it's Naroditsky, he's about the same strength as Ifan. He's probably better in blitz and bullet, and she's probably better at slow chess. Yeah. And so on. So forth. Yay, it's 6. I should be on Chess TV any second. Just beating the clock. Chess Fest in Trafalgar Square. I've barely heard of it, so they'll probably haven't. Yeah. Chess Fest was very hot. Well, that's good. I hope you said hi to all my homies there. Yeah. Happy International Chess Day. I think it's on the 20th, but maybe. Is it today? Wrench and Naroditsky are about the same except for one thing. Well, I'm not sure what that one thing is. Oh, you talked to Gawain Jones? Yeah. He's a nice guy. Who is Ifan married to? I didn't know she was married. So I don't know. Yeah. All right, cool. Come on, numbers, get higher. All right. So I have 6 games fragments like this, and then we're going to look at one complete game. And I'll be done hopefully right at 8 because I'm tired and old. Yeah. So forth. I should be on Chess TV for the last minute or two, but my numbers do not indicate that. So if somebody can check Chess TV and see if I'm on, Otherwise, I'll complain like a grandmaster. And so forth. The more I complain, the less subs I have. So I have 99,293 followers. We're almost at the goal, 99,999. You can't beat that. There's no number higher than that. So, 681. Okay, that's more than 200. So I guess I'm on Chess TV. All right. So this is Magnus versus Tari, the two best players in Norway. Magnus seemed to have an advantage, and it's all gone now. He won this weak C pawn for this A pawn, recently. Rook takes and takes, and as a consequence, pawn's pretty good. So this position's preferable for Black, and Tari lost in just a few moves. Truth hurts. I guess that's why he's not the best player in Norway. Okay, so Magnus played 93. And to be honest, I don't really blame Tari for making a mistake here. Now, his mistake might not lose the game. It probably doesn't. But in conjunction with his next move, it does. The engine seems to like rook e8 because it doesn't want knight takes to happen, which did. And then after rook e8, if knight takes, obviously we double rooks on the 7th rank and take a pawn. And the f pawn's indefensible. It's probably not good for white. And then after rook here, if possible, we play d4 or we do this. So that's the two options. You could also play d4 right away. That's also fine. And the move he played isn't terrible. But it's after that, white has the advantage. Played a5. Right, Karen? Yeah, Karen agreed. And Magnus took with the knight. And now, here he made a very, very bad blunder. Sort of understandable, I guess. He was in mild time trouble, but actually Magnus had less time. This is the kind of mistake I understand. I understand not wanting your opponent to play knight takes f6 check, because Black's position looks stupid then. But probably good drawing chances by playing a4. And even though white is a pawn up and Black's pawn structure is absurd, this pawn's really good, and Black can attack this pawn this way or by trying to get his rook down one of these files, assuming white ever plays rook a5. In fact, the engine says it's completely equal unless white plays this move. The only move to give him an advantage. Otherwise, white doesn't have an advantage. All right, which is hard to believe. All right, now, if I was Black, I would be very unhappy here because I would assume I'm lost, and the engine doesn't necessarily agree. It just says white has a big advantage. But, I wouldn't like that. And, unless you could think 10, 15 minutes a move, you're sort of guessing strategically what's correct. So instead of a4, he played bishop d4, which is a very bad move, but it's very understandable. You attack the rook, you stop knight takes the bishop, and you'll queen your pawn later. All right. Magnus played the only move, rook cb5. If he doesn't play rook cb5, he's in trouble because rook's hanging and his knight's attacked. So knight here check's actually bad. King f8, rook c7, a4, and Black is at least equal. Okay, in this position, when I was doing commentary with Danya, he pointed out a4 is a blunder that loses immediately, and about a minute later, Tari played a4. So a5 wasn't a good move, bishop d4 wasn't a good move, and a4 was a blunder. So in a position where he's fine, Tari made 3 bad moves in a row in time trouble and then had to resign. Truth hurts. That's unfortunately. Well, yeah, I'm sure they're good buddies. Yeah. Then we had a very important conversation about whether they speak Norwegian or English after the game. Very important. Yeah. Now Tari, I don't think was born in Norway, unless I'm wrong. So I'm not sure if his Norwegian is 100% perfect. Probably it is. He's played for Norway his whole life. So, yeah. And then I told some stories, and he told some stories. Yeah. A very funny story, which I've almost never told on stream. Maybe I haven't. A little over 30 years ago, I was in Groningen or Vikanzee. I think it was Groningen. Unless it was Vikanzee. I was in the Netherlands. And Ivan Sokolov was playing a Russian. Now, which Russian, I don't know. Don't remember who his opponent was. And his opponent offered him a draw. Now, Ivan Sokolov speaks English and he speaks Russian. And his opponent was Russian. So he thought if the guy offered him a draw, he would offer in Russian. But instead he offered in English. And his English was incorrect, so Ivan Sokolov was insulted. The guy said, I offers a draw. And just because he offered in English and said, I offers, he declined because he was mad at his opponent. Said, the guy knows I speak Russian, and he offered in English incorrectly, showing that he believes his English is better than my Russian. Very insulting. So he declined the draw because I offers a draw. All right, I guess. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys in Europe speak 3, 4, 5 languages, and generally we just speak English because, safest, I guess. So that was funny. But a lot of times people are from the same country where English is not the first language, but if they're in an international tournament, they speak English anyway. Go, Karen. Trying to learn tier 2. All right. 42 months. God damn. Yeah, I declines the offer. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So what Black needs to do here is play some move that prevents 97 check. Rook E8, King F8, even Bishop F6, which is silly. Just moved his bishop. And then White has a big advantage, possibly not winning, probably winning. And then Magnus's infamous technique would take over, and he would win on move 65 or something. Instead, Tari played A4, an elementary blunder. And when I say elementary, I mean for Tari, not for, like an 1100 player. And this actually would be an excellent puzzle on chess.com for Tactics Trainer or Puzzle Rush or Puzzle Battle or whatever. And I mean, it would have a very high percentage of being solved. And I mean, obviously he saw 97 check, but he didn't understand that knight here is just completely winning. Completely winning. And the reason it's completely winning is because of checkmate. Now, you can't put it in H because of this checkmate. Probably he'd already seen that. Probably. And then after here, knight C6, which he may also have seen, maybe. Right? Maybe what he didn't see is the knight's forking this, which obviously he did. But if the rook moves, then rook here is going to be mate. So that it threatens this, and then the rook defends the bishop mate. So after 97 check, he has to resign. You can't go here and get mated in one, and you can't go here because you lose everything. So, I mean, A4 is an incredible blunder because 97 check resigns. And I was saying during the broadcast, the best players, the best, when they have a bad position, they defend like monsters, making it really difficult for the winning side to win. And then after I said that, Tari made the worst move on the board and resigned. And so it shows you what I know. On the other hand, maybe defending much worse positions, isn't Tari's strong suit. And maybe that's why he's not 2,700. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's a terrible knight check, knight c6 resigns. I think he resigned before knight c6. I mean, terrible. Linder18 subscribed to tier 2. It's tier 2 day. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to play bishop f6, then you shouldn't have moved your bishop off of f6. Right. So yeah, I mean, here a4 is reasonable. And this I already talked about. It's much better for white, but maybe black has drawing chances. But yeah, I mean, taking a position that was equal or better and losing immediately is, that's not good fighting spirit. What is he, me? And it actually took 3 bad moves to do it. Here black's fine or better. That's a bad move. That's a bad move. And that's a blunder. And then he resigned. I mean, it's so quick. I mean, I knew Magnus was quick, but I didn't know that was common knowledge. Okay. Next game was also not well played. So, Bassem Amin, I'm going to say something that sounds mean, but it's Amin. As you all know, he's a medical doctor, and he's 2,700, like most people. And he just got married like 2 or 3 years ago. His wife might have had a baby, but maybe I'm making that up. Maybe I'm not. So, never know. Bacrot was a grandmaster at 13. He was 2,700 in his early 20s, and he's been 2,700 for 20 years, and he's never gotten like the top 10 in the world. Just sitting there, still sitting there. Maybe he's under 2,700 now. I don't know. But Bacrot's really good. And in this position, white has a very easy forced win, pointed out by Naroditsky, and there's only one move that wins, and Bacrot didn't play it. And as they say, Potzer sees a check, Potzer gives a check. And, usually that's like half of a joke, but here it's true. So he checked, and now he's not winning anymore. And the game ended in a draw, which I'll show you. As Naroditsky pointed out, if white trades queens and plays bishop h6, that's it. And he was like, I don't see a move for black. So I tried to see a move for black, and I was like, okay, that loses, that loses, that loses, that loses, that loses. And then I gave up. And then the engine says, you give up. So we're threatening knight f6 check, and then rook takes d6. Pretty simple threat. If the bishop moves so that I can't take it, so bishop b8 or bishop e5, then knight f6 check and rook d8 mate. And if bishop f8, knight f6 check and rook d8 pins the bishop and then mate. So you can't move the bishop. So thanks Linder18 for the 5 subs. Good timing. Hooray. Okay, now the most obvious move to stop knight f6 check is rook e6. That stops knight f6 check. And now you play knight f4. You can't take the knight because rook here is going to be mate. But you don't want the guy to take your rook, and you don't want to move your rook off your bishop. So Danya pointed out this makes the most sense. And then after bishop g5, now there is no move that makes any sense. Like, that's it. So, and white wins. So if he had taken to play bishop e6, h6, he would have won. No doubt about it. And I guess he didn't see takes a bishop h6. I don't know. So he ended up checking, and now he's not winning. King f8 is quadruple question mark, because bishop h6 check, and the queen's not protected. So he played king g7 is obviously a blunder too, because I take with check. But he plays king h8. You can't take the rook because your queen's hanging. And if white takes the queen, then black takes and his rook isn't attacked. So after knight assists king h8, it's just a draw. That's the best move. Bishop c3 is the best move. And black only has one move that draws here. Now, it's possible, I don't know, I didn't ask him, that Bacrot saw this when he played knight f6 check, and he's like, I'm winning, I'm the best. And then he missed black's next move. If that's the case, maybe he thought this was more easily winning than the other line I showed you that was winning. But it's not winning because black plays bishop e5. Maybe he didn't see that. I don't know. The rook's attacking the bishop. If the bishop moves away, we got discovered checks and taking things. But yeah, this is yeah. Okay. This is also a mistake. I can't believe Bacrot incorrectly went to the back row. Yeah. Now the engine still prefers white if he takes and plays g4. And I guess the main idea is if black saves his bishop, I can cement my knight with like f4, g5. And then if my knight sits here the rest of the game, that could be dangerous for... So the engine says you have to go here. And then I cement my knight anyway. And I'm threatening this. And then king f8. And white's better because the knight is fantastic. The h-pawn's weak. There's some mating tricks. But, you know, it's like plus 0.8. Maybe white's close to winning, maybe not. But instead he made another mistake, check, and now white's not better at all. Yeah. And by the way, king f8 looks weird, and king h6 is okay, but king f8's the most accurate. You want to get your king to e7. And he did play king e7. This is actually a nice trick. Rook e4 is also fine. Rook e4 being fine is weird because it looks like this move wins. It checks and attacks the rook, but you go here. And now it looks like this move wins because if he takes, you take a free bishop, but it's not a free bishop because I take the knight. So rook e4 by trickery and deceit actually is fine. But he played king e7, which is also a draw. And then they agreed to a draw because here is a dead draw. So Bacrot went from completely winning to slightly better to dead draw, like pretty quickly. Truth hurts. Now, I said before, and I didn't finish my thought because I'm confused a lot. I said, I don't want to be mean, but I'm going to say something mean about Bassem Amin. And then I didn't say anything mean about him. Bassem Amin is the poster child for beating lower-rated players and losing to higher-rated players. If you're lower-rated than Amin, he beats you. If you're higher-rated, you beat him. It's very rare that Amin is beating top 10, top 15 in the world. It almost never happens. However, if you're rated 2,400 FIDE to 2,640 FIDE, then he beats you. So yeah, Bacrot was about the right rating, like sort of on the cusp of beating him and drawing. So he was beating him and then he drew. So that's fair. Yeah. He doesn't do really well against the super top GMs because he's a doctor, so he's busy. I was busy. Isn't that how it's supposed to be? No, sometimes when you're rated like 2,700 FIDE, you beat people in the top 10 occasionally, and you lose to low-rated players occasionally. He's very occasionally. He looks at his rating and he's like, okay, this is how I'm going to do. He looks at the opponent's rating. Yeah, I'm losing to that guy. Oh, I'm beating that guy. So, yeah, the truth hurts. Probably, if I was a betting man, I would say and I don't really know, but I'm guessing he's not the world's best opening player because he's a doctor. So he can't spend 10 hours a day studying the opening. And so against low-rated players, it doesn't matter. He just plays better than them. But against higher-rated players, he's not getting opening advantages with white. He's getting worse positions with black. So he's giving an advantage to somebody like Fabiano Caruana, who studies chess all day and gets opening advantages. Steve Condi subscribed. Yeah. Okay. This isn't very interesting if you're a master level player, but it's very interesting if you're not. So, since 99% of you aren't master level players, this is good for you. So, black's winning because black's up in exchange. And Danya and I had an interesting talk about how rooks are better than minor pieces in the endgame. And then he was dissing exchange sacrifices. And then I was like, nah, that's wrong. Always sack the exchange. Okay. And then you get this position, and now we're in agreement that the rook is 1,000,000 times better than the knight, so white's completely lost. Because it's the end game, and the knight can't do anything. Okay, so black's king was defending his g-pawn earlier, and he very nicely used his rook to defend his pawn, so his king could do the song about the sweet loving woman and do the song about the knife. Then he does the walk of life. And so that's what he did. King d7. And he's winning. So Jorden didn't want the king to go to d5. I agree. If he moves his king, let's say here, rook there attacks the knight and the pawn, and the knight can defend the pawn, but then I just walk in here. So he tried to stop the king from walking in here by playing knight g2. Then if the knight goes to f4 or e3, he stops this. And if the king goes here and we play knight f4, we're stopping king d5 and we're threatening the e-pawn. So knight g2 looks very reasonable. Otherwise, black just wins without any problem. And then for somebody of this level, this is very easy. And I mean, this is hard for me because it's not hard for me to figure out. What I mean is it's hard for me to teach a student about this because I would be somewhat angry at a student if they played the right move here, if their rating was really low, because I would just think they're getting lucky, that they didn't calculate to the end, but they just hoped. And, if you play a move and you I hope this wins, and then it does, I'm not going to give you credit when you're already winning. Now, if rook takes g2 was the only move, I can't really be negative about it. But every move wins. g5 wins, rook f1 wins, rook h1, every move wins. So when every move wins and you're up material, I don't like black playing rook takes g2 if they're a player that can't actually analyze to the end, which is most people. Obviously, if it's a GM, then it's easy. So, of course, he took, and that was it. Game ended. White resigned. So, if you take the rook, and the thing is, you're going to lose these two pawns. And when you lose these two pawns, you have to play king e3, getting the opposition. But the only way to do that is to take this pawn. Obviously, if you go directly to take the pawn, not only can you not play king e3 here, it's not your turn. If it was your turn, this move is the only drawing move. Although actually I'm lying because this move also draws. All right. It's important. Oh, wait, this move doesn't draw. Now I'm lying again. The first one wasn't a lie, so I was lying about lying. All right. This is the only drawing move is king e3. Obviously from g6, you can't play king e3. So what white has to do is go here and chill. And again, if you do this, you can't play king e3 because it's illegal and it's not your turn. So you have to play king here. And this is the best white can do. Yeah, you can't play king e3. So he just resigned after rook takes knight. But it's funny, the rook is just so much better than the knight. But because of the pawn structure and the king position, I can just take this. Because I get my king to d5 immediately. And of all the puns that Naroditsky made during the broadcast, this one I liked because a lot of times when it's an Eastern European GM who's not the most famous person on earth, I don't know their first name. And his first name's Kacper, so he said, well, this game black wasn't being friendly. And he was referencing Kacper, the friendly ghost. Now, I make jokes about Kasparov, the friendly ghost, but that's not as funny. Yeah. And then, yeah, it looks like he couldn't see the Foreest for the... Yeah. Resign like Nixon. That's right. Also, what? Big money, big money, big money. No whammy, stop. $9.99. Lying like a grandmaster. I'm sitting. That's weird. I'm sort of leaning back. Thanks, R.A. Kelly. My favorite R. Kelly. Yeah. You're an amazing teacher. Did I teach you how to spell your? Oh, snap. Yeah. Very good. All the jokes are relevant. I like that. All right, so on Foreest has to win with black. Good luck. Now, as you all know, in the middle of our broadcast, Vidit came on to talk to us for a few minutes. And he did something that reminded me of the Seinfeld episode where Jerry meets Keith Hernandez and they start going out as friends. And then Elaine starts dating Keith Hernandez. And Jerry's very jealous because, he met him first. So, it was a strange episode. But anyway, at the end, when Vidit left, he said, "Bye, Ben." And I've never talked to him before. So calling me Ben, I said, "Bye, Keith." I couldn't think of what to say. Okay. So in this position, White made a strengthening move. And he actually didn't know which strengthening move to play. And he told us something really funny. He played bishop c3. And White's slightly better. Black's d-pawn's not very good. If Farnsley's here, he can give you a long talk about why this is a backward pawn. And my knight here is really good. Your knight can't come in here. This bishop looks good. That bishop's blocked by everything. White's slightly better. And Adhiban made double question mark move here, which is... Usually when people blunder, I tell you why they blundered. I'm like, oh, he was thinking this, and then I don't know. This blunder's weird because White just made a move that stopped it. And it's very strange. He played e4, and if the white bishop was on d2, that would be okay. But he just played here. So after bishop s6, you just win the pawn. What? And then this, and the white's winning. White's up a pawn. This pawn's weak. That's a great knight. And he didn't see bishop f6. I don't know. Just play bishop c3. Anyway, the reason this is extra funny is Vidit said, before I played bishop c3, one of the lines I considered was rook b1, e4, always sack the exchange, knight f6, take some way. And then take this with good compensation. Black's up in exchange, but beautiful bishop, 2 isolated pawns, could still probably get a knight on d5. And the engine says this is equal. But he was looking at that variation, and then when his opponent played e4, he's like, man, I didn't have to sacrifice the exchange, and I still won the pawn. And then he won pretty cleanly. Nothing happened. He was a pawn up, and he won. I mean, the only question is, what's worse, e4 blundering a pawn, or e4 sacrificing a pawn thinking you have compensation? And no super GM would believe that that's what Adhiban was thinking. They just say he blundered a pawn, because nobody would ever think black has compensation there. I sort of agree. You don't just give center pawns away. Center pawns are important. So that's a very strange blunder. The reason it's very strange is white just played bishop c3, stopping e4. So, yeah. Truth hurts. So Adhiban plays a lot of brilliant games, but, if you play moves like e4, then, it's hard to get your rating up. Curbed. It's just curb. Adhiban is strong. Etc. The wall's not painted red. That's the blood of my enemies. It was white, and then, people kept getting in my way. Where's Adhiban from? No. Where every good chess player is from, India. They can't get rid of the Indian players that win all their matches, so they have to pair them against each other. It's the only way to get rid of them. They're too good. Why you don't play this tournament? What is English, like your 7th language? God damn. Do you think Hari is better than Vidit? I don't think Hari's better than Vidit. I know Hari's better than Vidit. Yeah, Anand's the best, then Hari, then Vidit, and then it's unclear who's 4th. There's about 5 guys who were fighting for 4th in India. Yeah, 4 through 8 in India are all about the same strength. A lot of good players. A lot. And the best player in India, other than Anand, for a very long time, was Shakhriyar. And now Shakhriyar's clearly not top 3 anymore, but he's fighting for 4th. I mean, he's, Saren's good, Praggnanandha's good, Adhiban's good. I'm probably missing like 4 other guys that are like 26, 70, because there's just so many good players there. No. Praggnanandha. Gukesh, no. Gukesh isn't. No, not Gukesh. No. Gukesh isn't there yet. Yeah, Setharaman's good. Yeah. Da-da-da-da. That's funny. Yeah. Hey. Nihal is not out. Nobody's out. Today was game 1. They play tomorrow. Yeah, Shakhriyar was good. Yeah. Aravind maybe, but probably give me a couple of years. Aravind, whose other name I can't say or spell, it's very long. It's CH. It starts with CH. I saw him a lot in the World Youth, and he was really good. Yeah, he was winning the World Youth in 2nd. Yeah. COVID. Nihal did lose to Andreykin, but to be fair, Andreykin's tough. So that's, truth hurts. And unfortunately, Nihal was white, so it's not good. Yeah, Vidit's not as good as Hare Krishna. All Bartholomew needs is to go to Eastern Europe and spend... Yeah, I mean, if Bartholomew wants to become a GM and that's the only thing in life he cares about, that can be done. But yeah, he has to go to the right tournaments. It's also possible he doesn't go to the right tournaments and just plays in strong tournaments and still get the GM title because he's good. Right. But obviously it's easier to go to the factory tournaments where everybody gets a GM norm, obviously. Kreezon31 subscribed. Why'd you not play this tournament? I'm very busy. Also, I'm terrible. No. This tournament, if you're an American like me, then you should be 2650 plus to play. And even then you might not play. And some of the people who are playing who are not 2650 FIDE, like Hungaski, they played in qualifying tournaments to get in. But I don't want to go to Russia. And I don't want to go to Russia for a chess tournament, lose 2-0 in the first round, then go home. I don't want to fly thousands of miles both ways so I can play 2 games and go home. I don't want to do that. If I was 20, maybe, but not now. But yeah, I do commentary and, streams and stuff. So I can't be missing my chess TV time. Mrs. Karen, that's interesting. Is Ferrugia going to peak soon? Isn't Ferrugia 18? No, he's got 15 more years to get better. Why are all low-rated players winning against super GMs? Well, that's not what's happening. It happens occasionally, but most of the low-rated players lose. But, some of the low-rated players are underrated because they're, 14. Have you ever been to Russia, USSR? Yes to both. You were expecting a win from Mamedyarov. Coming up soon. I am going to show a Mamedyarov game. Yeah. Yeah, Hare Krishna is good. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Will Magnus reach 2,900? No. I'm from Russia. It's hot here. Will Denny become a super GM? I don't know what a super GM is, but that's not what he's interested in. He went to, Stanford, and he teaches private lessons, and he streams, and he does commentary, and he does chess camps, and he makes plenty of money doing it. So he's not, yeah. No, you can't go. They're like, where's Karen?
Well, tomorrow.
The sun will come out. Yeah, tomorrow we got to take the dog in early. The dog.
All right.
So we're going to get home about the same time. It's going to be close. No, I think you'll beat me. Well, if you stop with the kids somewhere, I'll beat you. But if you don't, you'll beat me. So that's 50-50. Bye, sweetie. We got a lot of complicated stuff happening tonight. She's getting her kids, and I'm getting my kid. And we're all going to our home. And then at 11 o'clock, Rick and Morty. Although her kids will be playing video games. But Spencer's coming for Rick and Morty. All right. So yeah, E4 is unforgivable. And the difference, although, of course, this disproves what I'm about to say. Difference between GMs and the gawking rabble is GMs play bad just like the gawking rabble do, but we blunder much less frequently. We make a lot of moves, and the engine's like, no, that's not the best move. But we don't make a lot of moves where the engine's like, that's the worst move ever. Why are you a GM? We don't do that too often. And, you guys do that like 4 times a game. So if a GM is playing a bad game, they still beat a weaker player because the weaker player blunders a lot. And that E4 maybe isn't a blunder for a low-rated player, but for Adhiban, that doesn't make any sense at all. That's just weird. Because some blunders, I will explain why they blundered. Like what they were thinking and what they were wrong about. But I got nothing. I have no idea why he played E4. White just played Bishop C3. All right, so that was very strange. Yeah. Yeah. The engine has never confused me. Okay. So this game was 120 moves. I didn't know that. Well, I sort of guessed it was. And this is only move... what move is this? This is move 49! So we're way less than half the game. At this point, you would think 90% of the game has been played, but it's only like 45%. It's probably less than 45%. 6088 subscribed. Hooray! Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, in this position, what's funny is I saw this position, and then I saw position 2 moves later, but I didn't see the position with the one, and that was actually the blunder. So when we were doing commentary, we thought this was a blunder, but that's not a blunder. And after I saw this position, and then I saw the next position where White's winning, but I didn't see the moves, the interim moves. I knew what they were, but I literally didn't care. So knight here and knight here are 2 moves that draw. So this is fine. Now, after takes, this is where Jeffery blundered. He didn't blunder knight a4. This is where he blundered. And a lot of people just, capture, they make a move without thinking. And probably when Jeffery took, he mainly analyzed, e6, and this is a draw. And I'm sure that he saw that this was a draw because he's Jeffery. B4, you push 1 pawn. What's funny is pushing this pawn loses because black queens, white queens, and black plays queen b3 check. Okay, that's funny. Okay. And queen a2 check. You can't go here because you lose your queen, so you go somewhere else, and you just keep getting checked. And if you ever go to the G file, I'm not saying you have to, but if you do, check, takes, draw. If you don't go to the G file, I just check from behind. You need to go to the G file so your queen can block. If your queen doesn't block, I just check you forever. I mean, if your king's going here, your queen's not blocking the checks. But if your king is here, then your queen's blocking the checks. Your king can never go here because check takes. So this is all zeros. White's not winning. And probably that's what Jeffery was expecting when he played when he played king takes b3. And in fact, knight c3 check before taking the knight, that does draw. And now, you can't queen your pawn because you can't stop knight to d5. Once the king moves to any square, it doesn't matter where, I take this knight, your pawn's not queening because I can stop it. And the engine says this is a draw. But he blundered, king takes b3, and white only has 1 winning move here, and he thought a long time and he found it. So from here till the rest of the game, this was very impressive, except for the 1 move win that he missed. But he still won. And obviously, if e6, knight check, that's the line we looked at, that's a draw. And you have to stop knight check. And king here is not a good way to do it because you're walking into all kinds of checks. And king here, that does win. And that's what he played. Yeah, and this is winning. This is all forced. And in this position, which we looked at after king d4, me and Danya, Danya looked at this, and he said, well, this wins. By the way, that move wins, and every other move loses. But then, there you go. You win. This is the engine line. And it's not good. And you take the knight. And you make a queen. And white wins. This is the game, but it's better than the game for white. Okay. So Jeffery didn't like that. So Jeffery played knight f6 check. Now, back when black played king d4, white played king d4, thanks pseudo-Ryman, and he was explaining knight g7, I was thinking, what about knight f6? I was like, oh, king d8, g4, g5. And then I said, yeah, he plays knight f6, king d8, g4, g5, and Danya's like, yeah. And this was like 7 moves ago. And in this position, we were waiting for king d8 resigns. But he played king e6. Now, king e6 also wins because after knight e8, you play king here, and then you play king d8. You repeat, okay? And this is, I'd have no idea why he didn't play king d8. The only reason not to play it is you don't see this very simple idea. That's the only reason. King moves somewhere, here. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So it's weird that he didn't do that. Okay. So instead, he played f4, and it's not clear this is winning because it's possible, I'm not saying it's true, it's possible that this move is bad. It's possible the king should go somewhere else. And Danya sort of agreed with me, but we didn't analyze. We just... So that black has more checks. And there's less checks that white can make that trade queens. You're sort of getting your king out of the way of your queen. And also when the king is around here, there's less queen trades. When the black king is here and you check, a lot of interpositions of the queen are trading queens. Okay, now right now the evaluation says that white's not winning, but it'll probably change once we make some moves. Yeah, it already changed. Yeah, now in this position, black has 3 possible moves: knight g7, knight c7, and queen. And the move that he played loses. Knight g7 loses. I'm not sure if the other moves lose. Probably, but I don't know. I literally don't know. I'd have to have Stockfish 14 look at it for like 10 minutes, and then I would believe what it says, because it would see, like the next 30 moves. But obviously, with the players having no time on their clock, you do the best that you can, And he played knight g7, which is what I predicted, and it seems like that loses. Now, knight c7, check, king d7, make a queen, and then we queen the f pawn, the only move that probably wins. And yeah, the engine says this is the only move. And then you don't have to take the knight. King c8 is another move. It's not clear which is better. I mean, I'm guessing he would have taken the knight. And then I don't know if this is winning or if this is just a draw. I'm not sure. It seems to me that we're going to transpose. The king's going to walk over to the king's side, and then that's like what happened in the game. It's going to be the game position. Yeah, so I think it literally doesn't matter. And you could also queen here, and then they take, and you hope to perpetual them, and this must be the Consuela version, because it says no perpetual. Yeah, it just immediately says the game's over. No perpetual. I can't argue with the machine. It says plus 61. All right, so knight g7. And now there's only one move that wins for white. And that move is to queen this pawn. And the knight is trapped. And you don't really want to move the knight anyway because the guy queens. And if you play knight h5 check, king g5, like that's it. There's no play here. Okay, so he checked, which is the engine move. And then he kept checking. The only way for white to escape the checks is to give this pawn away. Now, earlier I showed you a position with the white king here and the black queen here. And what's going to happen is the king is going to walk over and we're going to get this position anyway. So this is going to happen anyway. So they didn't do anything. And now if he moves this king, it's going to be 3-time repetition. Or if he plays queen f8, I mean. So now he gives his pawn away. The only check is to take it. And then we go king g8. And then we repeat some more. We've had this position already. And finally king g6. And this position seems to be winning. And the main reason it's winning is because this move immediately allows a queen trade. Because the king is on c4, which I wasn't a fan of earlier. And now if the king goes to this rank, queen g5 check wins. And this rank, queen g3 check wins. And just so you understand, in this position, white has one winning move, king g6. In this position, white has one winning move, king g7. Now it's easy. Now you win by one tempo, because that's the most fun way to win. Maybe there's a more fun way. 0 tempos. So because you can't take on g2, you're losing, and it takes a lot of patience for white to win. But you can't take on g2, so eventually you block the checks with your queen and your pawns. He was repeating a lot, because always repeat. And now it just, it takes a long time to win, and he did. No stalemates. Right. The problem is, if you play the Eric Rosen-esque queen c7, I just don't take it. Now, what Eric Rosen would do in an online game, but this is not an online game, this is real life, is he would go here, the guy would take, and then the guy thinks you're going to take, so he pre-moves something, but you go here, and then when he makes his pre-move, it's stalemate. That's what Eric Rosen would do. But that doesn't work in a real game. Like king a8, the guy sees it, he's not pre-moving. So that's unfortunate. And it just takes, you just have to be patient and slowly but surely win. Don't call me Shirley. Yeah, there's no stalemate, so. And I think he resigned here. No, he didn't. And here he resigned, yeah. So, I mean, king g8 would have won really quickly, and he was winning the whole time, I think. I think so. And it's possible the engine and or table base, I don't know, it's possible, I don't know, that it's going to say king c4 was the losing move. And that was in this position. It's possible we can draw a queen and pawn ending if our king is somewhere else. I don't think so. I think it's still winning. But this move, I think, was just wrong. Because that makes it tough for black to avoid a queen trade. You want your king far away so your queen has more squares to check. But I'm not saying that this loses and other moves draw. I think they all lose. But I don't think this gave him the best chance. Later in the game, Jeffery correctly found that he should move his king away once the checks were exhausted. Yeah, in this position, that's the end of the checks. You can't play this check or this check because queen here check. And you can't, if you play this check, then g3 and there's no checks. Now, if black's king was where I wanted it, away on the A file, then you could play queen here check or queen here check. But you can't now because this is check. I'm not saying he would have drawn. I'm just saying I think it was better. And Grandelius should have played king d8 and g4. But otherwise, I mean, Grandelius was like always winning. Just took 1,000 moves. What's funny is when we do the live commentary, I literally don't care how long it takes. The longer it takes, the more money I get. Paid by the hour. Those guys have other shit in their lives. So, like, the guy who's the producer, he's got to go do stuff that's not chess related. And Danya has all kinds of chess stuff to do. So when the game goes on and on and on, those guys are choking on their own rage. If this game had gone 5 more minutes, Danya would have left and it would have been just me. That was already agreed. Danya had to go. But it ended just in time for Danya to give his 10 chess lessons. They were busy. All right, Gawking Rabble has spoken. 10 centidues, hooray. The Queen E4 drawing line. What? Queen E4. Let's see. I'm trying to think when Queen E4 was legal. Not here, because Queen G4. Is Queen E4 drawing here? Is that what you mean? Is it this position? Move 77. Oh, you're saying this move draws. Oh, yeah. Danya said, the engine said that was the best move, but nobody would play it. Because, yeah, obviously, moving your queen back, that makes more sense. The table base says this is a draw. So the engine that doesn't have the table base wants to sack this pawn. Queen here, king g7 takes. Obviously, that doesn't matter what the engine wants, because the table base is the table base. Now, Danya said queen e4 was the best move, but that doesn't mean that it draws. It just means... Now, if he was using the table base... All right, so I'm going to use the table base, because that's the kind of guy I am. I got to kill time somehow. Okay, so I guess the position's there. Dun-dun-dun. All right, and black to move. Queen e4 check is a draw, says the table base. That is correct. Wow. Queen e4 is a draw. Yep. That is correct. Well, that's too bad. So that was the... So after that, he wasn't drawing ever? Yeah, truth hurts. Yeah, harsh. Man, the engine without table bases doesn't like queen e4 very much. It likes queen h5. But table base is all that matters. It's already been figured out. So table base is all the way to the end of the game, every legal move. The engine only sees, 20, 30, 40 moves ahead. Terrible. By the way, if he had played queen e4, it doesn't mean he would have drawn. It means that with perfect play, it's a draw. He still could lose, Let's see, what's Matt Larson saying? That's actually funny. So Matt Larson hasn't played a live tournament in 2 years. So he played in a local yokel event where he would just win all of his games to practice. He hung a piece for no reason against an 1800 and was just dead lost, but he ended up winning, and he said his opponent was crying after the game because they lost to Matt. Yeah. So Queen e4 is a draw with perfect play, but it doesn't mean that he would have drawn. It just means he should draw if he plays perfect every move, which is virtually impossible. So we'll never know if he would have drawn, but yeah, White did mess that up. So he had one move that drew, and then White was winning after. Truth hurts. Yeah, 50-50 made it. Table bases are integrated into some of the engines, but not on chess.com. No. It does take up a lot of space, yeah. Again, it's not necessarily relevant for the result of the game. It's more of a theoretical, so but not practical. Like, I wouldn't call Queen h5 a mistake because there's no way to know that Queen e4 draws and Queen h5 loses. Only the table base knows. Even, like, the top engines don't know unless they use the table base because they can't see far enough where they know, etc. Lee Chess has a table base. Go Lee Chess. Chess.com's analysis board has a table base now. Where? Is it under settings? What? Let's see. Live analysis. Where is it? Well, I can't play it because it's both sides have 5 legal moves every. You just go to the internet, go to a table base, and put it in and see. Might need to be in beta, probably. Yeah. I'm not. I haven't done. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not on the cutting edge. Okay. Now this game, I didn't see 1 second of because I was not doing commentary until 11 a.m. my time, and this game ended about 10 a.m. my time. So they were talking about it. This was the big upset. This position is about equal, and Mamedyarov made 2 blunders in a row and lost. Now, White's better. I mean, there's double isolated pawns here. So it's better to have White. But if two engines are playing, it'll be a draw. Bishop e2, trade queens, and it's better to have White, but it should be a draw. And here's what's funny about this, which I don't think anybody pointed out, even though I have no idea what anybody pointed out. But I'm going to guess nobody pointed this out. That's what I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess the reason Mamedyarov played bad moves is he wanted to win. And if Mamedyarov was like, I should make a draw here, I think he would have played bishop e2 and made a draw. That's what I think. But I don't think Mamedyarov was interested in a draw. Mamedyarov's like, that's a good bishop. That bishop's shallow and pedantic. Why am I making a draw? I'm paired down against this guy. So probably Mamedyarov is so aggressive all the time that he doesn't not be aggressive when he should not be aggressive. He can't help it. BCD 84. Unlicensed? You're each in unlicensed. I have to see your license. Yeah. What? Okay. So he played very, very bad move here, e5, which solidifies his bishop, but it opens up this diagonal. So it makes this bishop a monster, and after this move, White has a big advantage. That was terrible, e5. I mean, Black had a bishop on d4, And white's never playing bishop d5, and then he played e5. Horrible positional move. Now white's obviously better, because, now you weak pawns, this pawn's weak, and so forth. And now he blundered again. And I understand why he blundered. He played king g7. King g7 isn't a blunder, is it? He's just losing. It's not a blunder, he's just losing. Like, e5 was such a horrible blunder that he can't recover. You can't defend the pawn with the queen because your bishop's attacked. You can't defend the pawn with the rook because my rook is on your rook. So your rook would be overworked. Wow, e5 is worse than I thought it was. And I thought it was bad. What a terrible move. Now, the gawking rabble, and by gawking rabble, I mean people who are a lot better than me, they said Mamedyarov miscalculated, insinuating he saw bishop d5, he saw bishop f7, but he thought he had tricks that were fine for him. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they said. It would make more sense that he just totally underestimated that, but all right. Okay, so he did this. And then he's down 2 pawns. Miscalculated what? Now, what if I take this first? What if I play this move? See, maybe Mamedyarov did miscalculate. Maybe Mamedyarov's calculation was rook takes rook, rook takes rook, rook f8, and the engine does say this is equal because of the, this battering. So maybe when he played e5, he saw this, and then he saw this, and then he's like, oh, here. And this looks like it loses material, but see, this move normally would win material, except it gets checkmated. If white takes this, or this, or this, white's losing. But white has checkmate. And he probably didn't see there was a checkmate. Obviously, king h8, this is mate, so you have to go here. Now, the queen's defending this, but this is just mate. This is forced mate, and this is a quicker forced mate. This is the only legal move. This is the only legal move. And this is a brilliant win. Is there other winning moves? I assume. Oh, yeah, every move is mate. King here, king here. Yeah. But this is the nicest. If you take, this is mate. And if you play king here, then this is mate. All right, so I believe when Mamedyarov saw this, and miscalculated that. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. It's funny because black can throw this in, and this is the only winning move, even though you could take with check now. Because you can't play bishop takes e8 because your queen's hanging. Damn. So yeah, it is a miscalculation. Yeah, he probably thought he could play rook takes here, and this just wins immediately, and he miscalculated it. I understand that. Now he's just 2 pawns down for nothing. Now, on Twitter or the chat on chess.com, I think it was the chat, on Twitch, when somebody said, why did Mamedyarov resign so early? And when he resigned, he was, his game's no good. I mean, yeah, he resigned here because he's down 2 pawns for nothing. And people on the internet were like, why did he resign? I don't know. It looks like he's down 2 pawns for nothing. Seems like an easy win. Wow, he just blundered all of his pawns because he thought he could play rook c1. I didn't understand bishop e8 well enough. That makes sense. Yeah, when you're calculating checks and captures, you can't be wrong. When you calculate strategical or positional moves and you're wrong, then you're worse. You calculate tactical moves and you're wrong, then you lose. And usually his calculation's pretty on point. And he's always playing the most aggressive way. But there his calculation was wrong, so he lost all his pawns. That wasn't good. No. Terrible. He's not a 1,200 player. He's at least 1,300. Yeah. Would Carlsen lose 2 pawns down? It doesn't matter who's playing. You're losing. Carlsen might not resign, but it doesn't mean he wouldn't lose. You know, this reminds me of the famous story. There's a bridge player that 98% of you haven't heard of named Ben Crane. And Ben Crane was also a Hollywood producer of shows like Mission Impossible. And also he was murdered, and they solved his murder like 30 years after he was murdered. They arrested somebody in another state. And that's weird. That just happened a year ago. They solved his murder. But anyway, Barry Crane was a famous bridge player for many, many, many reasons. Not because he was good. He was good, but for other reasons too. But anyway, Barry Crane's playing against, an older woman, which is typical. And Barry Crane makes some bid, and the woman says double. And Barry Crane looks at her and says, double? Ma'am, do you know how many master points I have? Like half kiddingly. And she says, no, but I know how many high card points I have. So, I don't know who I'm playing, but I know I'm up 2 pawns. And white's winning. It's not really up to Magnus to not lose. It's up to his opponent not to win. If his opponent doesn't want to win and plays bad, then he won't win. But if his opponent plays competently, then he will win. He's up 2 pawns for nothing. Yeah, the only reason people would question the resignation is because they haven't heard of the white player. If Magnus was white, everybody would say, well, yeah, he resigned. He's down 2 pawns for nothing. And Magnus crushed him. Yeah. But those kinds of things that you guys think about, they're not thought about at the top level. You guys are like, I'm 1,600 and my opponent's 2,000 and I'm up 2 pawns, so I'll offer a draw. And that's why you're 1,600. If you're 1,600 and you're 2 pawns up for nothing and you offer a draw, you shouldn't play chess. You should stop playing chess. Play some other game. Because you're not trying to play the best move and you're not trying to win. You're just saying, wow, my opponent's good and I'm not. Your opponent was 400 points higher rated than you before the game started. That has nothing to do with the position. Position's winning or drawing or losing. If it's winning, you don't offer a draw. That's ridiculous. But yeah, White's supposed to win. Obviously, he's disgusted with himself giving all of his pawns away. But hopefully, he would have lost if he had played on. I wouldn't resign because I don't resign. If I was playing Magnus or a 1,200 player, I'm not resigning here. I don't want to resign. When I resign, it's too late. That's when I resign. I don't resign when there's a 0.01 chance I can draw. I don't do that. Yeah, when I resign, it's no good. When I resigned against Jeffery, Xiong in the World Open, I could have resigned 5 moves earlier, but I don't resign. Then when I resigned, it was silly. Then somebody doesn't know the rules could beat me. So I wouldn't resign here. But that's not to say I wouldn't lose. I would expect to lose. And so forth. Did he offer a draw? What? I'm 1,700. If you played me without queen and rook, would you still beat me? And easily, too. Let's see. Shaq past his prime. Man, truth hurts. Man, people like to talk about somebody's chess strength based on the game they just played. And we discussed this in earlier streams over the last 3 weeks in basketball. Now, this is what's funny about basketball. You would think that if somebody played in the NBA, and especially if they were a famous NBA player, but that doesn't really matter. The fact that you're playing in the NBA is good enough. That you wouldn't just be like, oh, that team won, so they're definitely going to win the series. Oh, the other team won the next game, they're definitely going to win the series. That's just what people who have no understanding of anything would say. That's what you guys say all the time. And all those experts who do basketball analysis, that's what they do. Phoenix won the first game, the series is over. Phoenix won the second game, the series is over. And then Milwaukee wins 3 games in a row, and now they think the series is over. Milwaukee's going to win. I mean, the series is over when it's over. It's not over during the series, but somehow whoever wins the last game, they're going to win. So Mamedyarov lost, and, he could still win the World Cup. This is game 1. You lose when you play chess. The truth hurts. Sometimes you lose. But you can't judge somebody's chess career based on one game, based on one blunder. But you guys like to do that. You're like, Saren lost, he's out. And I'm like, well, not yet. He'll be out tomorrow. But yeah, the truth hurts. Yeah, it's better not to play chess so these things don't happen. When you play chess, you blunder and you lose a lot. And then people make fun of you. Man, harsh. Yeah, I would never do that. Like, let's say you take somebody who was good a long time ago, like, I don't know, Kasparov, right? Obviously, Kasparov doesn't play as well now as he used to, so I wouldn't make fun of him. Never. I mean, I expect him to do worse, and, that's the way it is. It's not his fault. So, Kasparov has a bad result. We're like, hey, nice try, good job. That's what I would do. Delicious. Oh, so magical. Subscribe. Good. Yeah, if anything, I gave him too little credit. Yeah. Man, I'm too tired to stream anymore, but I have another game to show you, and I'm on Chess TV for 40 more minutes, so I guess I'm going to stream more. Let me take like a 5-second nap. Oh, that's better. Okay. All right, this is Vitiugov Shirov, and this was one of 2 games played this round in the Botvinnik Semislav, which you don't see a lot of anymore. It's one of the sharpest lines in chess. Shirov is one of the experts, but most super GMs do not like black. Most. Some do. Okay, you can play G3 or you can take this. There was another game played today or yesterday where black played bishop E7. That's the other move. Puzzled Pawn, who donates a lot to my stream, and he's somebody I know well, he plays bishop E7 here, I think. I think he does. Okay, and I've had white in this position. And I've had white in this position. I've had white in this position. And the main move is to castle. And Vitiugov played a very unusual move, which Shirov seemed to know. I've analyzed castle c5, d5 for hours and hours and hours, and I've had novelties on move 25 I've prepared, and I can't remember any of it now, because I never have this now. So I wouldn't even play white in this position, because I can't remember anything. But, 10 years ago, I would have played white here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Shirov plays like Shirov, right. Okay, so queen g4, that's a very unusual move that I'm not necessarily familiar with. b4 attacking the knight. And now the d pawn is hanging because he played queen g4, so he took the d pawn. Now this is a double-edged sword because the c pawn's weaker with it not being defended, and rook d1 can sometimes be good for white at some point. Okay, queen e2, and I'm sure this is all theory because the players are playing pretty quickly. Knight e5, castles. And material's equal here, but the position's a complete mess. And this is recommended by the engine. Rook e1, I'm sure this is his preparation, Vitiugov. And my engine doesn't like c5. c5 looks pretty natural to activate the bishop. And I remember at this point, looking at the clocks, Shirov had taken a lot of time to get to this position, and Vitiugov had used like 3 minutes. So I think he was still in his prep. And the engine does not like that move. Now, if you ever take this, black has the pleasant choice of undoubling his pawns and getting a pass pawn in the 6th rank, or getting his knight to d3, forking and attacking. So since this isn't a threat, and the queen has nowhere to go that's safe, this move doesn't make a lot of sense. And the engine does not like it. And then he played a5, which the engine also doesn't like. And you have to take with a pawn because your a pawn's hanging. So c takes is considered bad. And knight to d2, threatening the knight on e5. And because black traded on e2, the rook on e2 defends the knight. And if the knight moves away, then we play knight takes c4 and we're winning. But so you can't lose your knight and you can't lose your pawn on c4. So white has a big advantage here because he successfully opened the a file for his rook. This pawn is being attacked, the knight's being attacked, and it's equal material. Okay, he played c3. The engine prefers bishop d6. And then after f4, attacking the knight, we're going to take this pawn. So the engine likes white a lot. Played c3, takes, knight e4. If he takes this pawn, he should just be winning. He's up a pawn. So he played knight f3 check. The engine prefers rook d3, but it still does not like black's position because that pawn's going to be lost. So he did play rook d3. Bishop e3 is excellent, threatening the knight. You can't... By the way, in this position, we're threatening rook h2 check, which we couldn't play last move because the knight was hanging. Now that the knight's defended, now you're threatening rook h2. So after here, you can't play rook h2 because the king takes knight. And after knight h2, I just pin the knight and no good. Okay, so this is the right move. And he took... The engine prefers doubling rooks here and says white's winning very easily. It does not like bishop takes knight. After bishop takes knight, it still says white's winning, but says this is an easy win. Just starting the attack on the a file, and black's bishop and rook are terrible on f8 and h8. But he played the forcing move, and then he wants to take this, winning the game. Attacking the rook and threatening check and taking on e6. And black can't allow that. Can't just give all your pawns away like your Mamedyarov. Terrible. So he played rook h6. Good. Knight e5. Good. The rook is trapped. So he has to play rook d2. And they both have these 3 pawns each, but it's obvious these passed pawns are dangerous, and these pawns are probably just going to get captured. So not good for black. He tried, but he failed miserably. I mean, he probably thought he was just going to lose all of his pawns, so he tried to keep this one or this one. But yeah, 3 passed pawns, what else? Activate his king. Now, the engine does not like what white's doing. It doesn't like the counterplay that he's giving. In this position, it actually wants to play king f2 or rook b1. And I think I would be playing king f3 all day. Ridiculous. I don't like what the engine's saying seems very strange. And it also doesn't like king e4, which also looks great. And in this position, right now, the engine says equal, which is hard to believe. So I don't believe it. Knight d3, king c4, takes, and check, that's correct. And that's a blunder, losing the game. And this is why the engine, well, actually, king takes b4 may not lose the game, but the engine likes king c3 or rook e2 better. It literally doesn't care about this knight. It wants to win this rook. So the engine's claiming all these moves draw, and it doesn't like what Vitiugov did, letting the king come in, the rook come in, and the fact that f4 gives away the e3 square, so we have this rook e3 check and rook e1 idea. But obviously this is too complicated for humans, because this looks great to me. Okay, and the engine claims this is a draw, and he resigned very soon. This is right. This is right. And now the engine thinks white's winning. So the engine's just crazy. I need a better engine. This has to be winning. So what I'm wondering is king takes knight really a mistake? Does this move actually draw walking into the fork? Because you play here, obviously. The answer is I don't know. Maybe this does draw. So we want to go here next to move. Then when he sacks his rook, we have a rook and a pawn for this knight, and that pawn's pretty dangerous. So maybe this is a draw. I don't know who the hell's playing king c3. You can't even play king c2. So it's a very strange move. But you're trying to play rook e1. And you're trying to save tempi. Like if you take and go here and go here, you know, you're losing your d-pawn anyway. White's getting a queen faster. And this move hangs on to the d2 pawn. In the game, he had to get this pawn to d2. But his pawn's already on d2. So the engine's like, go here, go here. That's very creative. And if somebody did that, I would think they're a super genius. If somebody played king c3, I'd be like, wow, that guy's good. Assuming it's the best move. And the engine thinks this is a draw until I get a better engine. The better engine might think it's not a draw. Okay. And it thinks this is just losing. And Shirov didn't put up a good fight. And in this position, Naroditsky was not happy with king c2. He thought that black should play d2 more quickly. And the reason is, if you're black and you're going to win this rook for your pawn, and you can win the rook on d1 or d2, pick d2. You want your king as close to the white pawns as possible. So after here, if this is the next move, and he takes, our king's on d2. But if we play d2, d1, and he sacrifices, our king's on d1, which is further from the white pawns. So he didn't like that. But the engine doesn't agree. It just says white's winning. It literally doesn't care what black does. So it says f5 is just easily winning. Here, here, here. f6. It just says it's winning. Plus 1,000. So he played king c. He checked, which seems like just a bad move. And then f5 is excellent. Got to gain a tempo. What's funny about this is, if black plays king takes rook here, we're getting into the Jeffery endgame. King takes, d2, a7, king c1, queen, queen. And we got queen g and h versus queen. And that's an easier win because it's white's turn, and there's almost very few checks for black. But that's funny. It would look like the Jeffery endgame. Queen, G, and H versus queen. In fact, the engine says this is the best move, going into that lost queen and pawn endgame. But he played here, and I figured rook f1 was good, because if you're going to save your rook, you might as well queen 2. At this point, and I actually think Shirov was right, and me and Naroditsky were wrong. Yeah. And when I say he's right and we're wrong, it's funny what he's right about and we're wrong about. I think Shirov knew the game was over and he was going to lose soon, and we were trying hard to find a good defense for Shirov. And Shirov did not try hard, and he resigned. He didn't resign here, but we thought this was the best move. And the problem is, after f6, if you play this, I go here. That's the problem. And then when I take your d pawn, that's better than the position I showed you earlier. That's even more winning. Yeah, and this is, it says plus 1 billion. Yeah. I go here and a queen. There's nothing to look at. So we were trying really hard for black to defend here, and Shirov wasn't trying hard because it's over. He knew it was over, and Danya and I were like, we got to defend, but yeah, he already gave up. Yeah. D1 rook, rook f5. Yeah, all right. What? What's wrong with this thing? D1 rook. Rook takes plus 1,000. What a stupid engine. Okay, so he took on h2, and Danya's like, take on h2, f6 resigns. f6 resigns. So we thought like rook h2 was just dumb, but it turns out it literally doesn't matter what he does. It's losing anyway. Now here, you have to go here, and then, you know, I got this pawn, so yeah. This is ceasing to be interesting. G4 might even be better. G4 is probably better. This wins, but G4 is better because I think we can avoid queen versus rook. And here we can't. This is going to be queen versus rook, which is a win, but that takes another 40 moves. But I think we can actually avoid it. Yeah. Yeah, we shouldn't let him get queen versus rook. We should just win. And G6, and yeah. That would be the more professional way. So yeah, after f6, black just resigned. But that was a fascinating game, but it seemed like Shirov was always on the back foot. And I think queen takes e2 trading queens was a bad move. His queen's great on d3, and letting him play a3, ab, and getting the a file. I mean, the position's really complicated, obviously. That's what Shirov likes. But Vitiugov is one of those underrated players because he's Russian. So if you're Russian, you know, there's 10 guys over 2,700. They're a dime a dozen. But if he lives in any other country, he'd be super famous. But you're like, well, what about Svidler? What about Kramnik? What about Nepomniachtchi? What about Karyakin? And so on. So you're like, Vitiugov, who's that? But yeah, he's good. Vitiugov's good. He can win a lot of matches. He plays very accurately, very solid, very Hare Krishna-like. Solid, good theoretical, doesn't blunder, confident. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, very much like Hare Krishna. That'd be a good match. Vitiugov, Hare Krishna. I'm going to set up that match. We'll have it here at the Chess Center. And then we'll have to leave because we can't pay the guys. So, harsh. Vitiugov is Nepomniachtchi's second. Man. No, he's good. Yeah. Yeah, Rick and Morty, 11 p.m. Eastern tonight. That is correct. Go Rick and Morty. Yeah, I'm going to pick up Spencer after the stream, and then we're going to watch Rick and Morty, and then Karen will fall asleep on the couch while it's on. That's the only thing that's certain. Delicious. In the Women's World Cup, which I'm not following as much, but I am following it, Carissa Yip won today. If I'm not mistaken, and I am mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, she's the only American left. Now somebody in the chat can be like, no, she's not. What about, what's her name? I mean, for the women. I think she's the only American woman left. If there's another American woman left, then I'm not following it well enough. Anybody? Yeah, she beat a very strong player today. Carissa Yip. And then in the men's side, Shanklin drew the first game. Jeffery lost. Gureyev lost. Man, the truth hurts. Fabi drew. Are those the only 4 Americans left? 2 draws and 2 losses? Man, the truth hurts. Yeah. Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah. Shirov is born in the USSR. Right, well, he was born in Latvia, so you can argue whether it's USSR. I guess it was when he was born there. Yeah, Dubov. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Russia has so many good players, somebody like Vitiugov doesn't get the kudos he deserves. Because, you can name other Russian players that almost everybody considers better. But, truth hurts. Sort of like Chinese players. There's 2,700 players in China, and you're like, what about Ding Liren? What about Yu Yang? And I'm like, I know, they're good. Seems like Wang Yui just quit chess because he's a coach. Because he was good. Wang Hao's good. He quit chess, I guess, after the World Cup, or after the candidates. Oh, yeah, Sevian. I forgot. Sevian did draw. That's right. So there's 5 Americans in the men's side and 1 in the women? Yeah. That's right. Duda's really good, yeah. Yeah, Hikaru, Fabi, Wesley... Hikaru and Wesley didn't play in this event. And Naroditsky, I think if he wanted to play, he could have played in qualifying events and played. But, he's busy. So, Naroditsky probably would have won the first round and maybe the second round. Maybe. But probably wouldn't win the third round. Yeah, and also he might lose the second round. But, yeah, Naroditsky would be a fine player. Wouldn't go too far, but, still do okay. Yeah. Etc. Mainly etc. Sam Shanklin beat Jobava. That is correct. Yeah. So tomorrow it's going to be Danny Wrench and Ifan from 8 to 11 Eastern. Then it'll be me and Danny Wrench, 11 a.m. till the show ends. Then the next few days, it's just me and Danny Wrench from 8 a.m. Eastern until it ends. The 21st, which is a Wednesday, there's no chess. They're taking a break. So there's no commentary. And then on the 25th, which I was supposed to do, they kicked me out to put in some jokes. Who are they putting in? Some you might not have heard of him. Vishy Anand? Yeah. So it's going to be Anand on the 25th. If you were wondering, they keep showing Anand's picture when Anand's coming, the 25th, and they also kicked me off August 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's also Anand. So the 30th is my last day, and then I go to New Jersey, and then Anand is when I get back. So I'll be doing commentary every day except the 21st when there is no commentary, the 25th when it's Anand, and then I'm done on the 30th. 30th, I'm only on at the end of the show at 11 a.m., and I have to leave early for the airport. So I'll be on like 11 to 1, and then I'm going to go, and Naroditsky will finish. So if you play that back, you'll know every second that I'm on. etc. Yeah, now it's pretty good. Yeah, it's like I'm the only non-world champion commentating with the host. Ifan, Topolov, Anand. Man, tough crowd. And me. Frankly, ridiculous. Yeah. All right, it's time to raid because I'm tired. I know I'm on Chess TV, but I literally don't care. And figuratively. It says Spencer is streaming, so we're going to raid him. I don't know if he is streaming, but if he is, I'm going to raid him. Yeah, then he'll be on Chess TV or something. Oh, I spelled Spencer's name wrong. That's good. And then, yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, on the thing. The thing. Yeah. All right, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.